Good evening. Good evening. How are you guys doing? All right. Well, I want to welcome you to tonight. Oops. Got Nancy going already. And I'm Ross Tartell. I'm president of the chapter. I know most of you. There are a few of you who I have not met, but a few of you who I have met. And so I just wanted to say welcome and do a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, you know where the exits are, because if something happens, you always need to be able to get out. And then you also, if you have personal needs, I won't say what those are during dinner, but you go out, you turn left, you turn right, and you'll find that particular location. And I just wanted to let you know that tonight we are simulcasting this session. So I believe that there are probably a couple of people who are looking in on us. So for those of you who are near a microphone, guard your words and actions, because you may be on recorded. And we are recording this for posterity. So we thank Discover Video for doing that for us. And I'll call James to come up in just a minute, just so I can show you who that key person is who's enabling us to do that. But this will be posted on their website. So when you received your notice about this meeting through Constant Contact, at the bottom there's a link. You just click on that link and you can return to Discover Video and you'll be able to see this session again. So you'll also be able to see last session, which was Mike's song, and it was sponsored by Brain Shark. So a couple of things in terms of housekeeping, and this is about networking. One of the reasons why we record this, one of the reasons why we spend so much time talking to each other, so one of the things that we want to accomplish is to create the connections among us and to create connections that work. So you know, as trainers, how important that emotional connection, that personal connection, that understanding of the other person is. We call it sometimes audience analysis, whatever it may be, but how important that is. So as we meet each other, and in this room we have people who work for companies, we have people who are in transition, we have people who are vendors. It's all about making that connection first, because that enables you to understand who that other person is and then understand how you guys can work together. Because each one of us has to work together to survive and be successful in this world. So that's, if you want some more detail around the ASTD networking guidelines, you know that there's always process and there's structure. Well, we also have structure too. So on that note, I want to just look for Martha, and she'll sort of recognize, there she is, she'll recognize some new members or new people who are here, and then she'll talk to us about that and the resource table, and then she'll look back for me.
I'd like to join Ross in welcoming everybody. Can you guys back there hear me okay? Excellent. Okay. We, of course, want to welcome everybody back, but give a special welcome for people who are new members of our chapter. So you could raise your hand if you're a new member. Awesome. You guys want to just stand up, say your name, where you're from?
Ted Denbo from Shelton, Connecticut, Prudential Annuities.
Great. Welcome.
Allison Jones, same thing, Sheldon, Prudential Annuities.
Awesome. Welcome.
Colleen Schauer, Sheldon, Prudential Annuities.
I'm detecting a pattern. How about you, Ross?
Me? I like Prudential Annuities.
So just to mix it up, hi, I'm Katie McSporin, most recently the Global Head of Talent Management at Towers Watson, and I'm in transition looking for similar role. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Welcome. And then did you want to introduce yourself?
Carolyn Riefel with Cardis, agricultural.
Welcome. So, welcome. If you guys have any questions about getting involved, situated right here. Our resource table has two purposes. One is to give you more familiarity with ASTD, in particular power memberships, which are where you're a local member as well as a national member. We have a lot of information about the benefits of that, so I draw that to your attention. The second purpose of the resource table is to give our members an opportunity to share interesting information or information about their products and services with other people here. So we do have some information here. You're welcome to pick it up. You're welcome to bring information about your own work, but we would ask that at the end of the evening that you please pick it up. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Ross.
Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
To Laura.
Okay, well, I got lucky. I have the microphone, so, but I usually can talk pretty loud without it. But welcome, everyone. My name is Laura McNerney, and I am the volunteer coordinator for our chapter. So I just wanted to mention to all of you, and especially Prudential, if you would like to jump right in and get involved as new members, we're always looking for volunteers in all of our different discipline areas with the chapter, whether that be working on helping us with membership or with programming or with finance or with marketing, with working on our website. We would love to have you. So if you have an interest in any of those opportunities, there are there is a little outline sheet in the back on the resource table, so please feel free to pick one up on your way out this evening and just give me a call or the particular board person that is in charge of that particular area. We'd love to have your help. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention tonight. The second thing I want to mention is for those of you that have been members for some time, you know that we typically do a survey on an annual basis. So guess what? It is that time of year again. But we'd like to try to get a head start. So we're going to ask two things. One is at the end of the program tonight, we usually ask for your comments or evaluation of the program. If you have any thoughts about topics that you'd like to see for next year, or even topics you'd like to see at our roundtable sessions in the fall, please make a note on that yellow sheet and we'll be paying special attention to that this particular month. If you have an interest in helping with survey development, come see me or shoot me an email. We'd love to have you with that. I have one more thing I'd like to put out there. This is on a personal note. I work for a company called Hospitality Resource Group in White Plains, and it's a learning and development company that has two arms. One arm of the company is customized training. The other arm of the company is OD and HR consulting. I'm currently looking for a part-time, 24-hour-a-week position for a learning and development manager that will primarily work on program design and facilitation. If this person has HR background as well and can work on some of those more long-term consulting projects, that's a huge help. But if you have an interest, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me. That might actually drive people to pick up the volunteer form because my email is on there. But if you know of someone that's in transition, 3 to 5 years experience, it's a mid-level opportunity, or if someone in the room would like to chat. Unfortunately, I'm not staying tonight, but you can get in touch with me. So that's it. Thank you for letting me do that little plug, Ross.
Hi, I'm Elena Campopiano. I'm the sponsorship director for the chapter. This sponsorship is to bring in outside vendors and companies that help support our industry to showcase their products and services with us so that we have some member benefit of education about what the products and services are out there in our industry. And they also help support our chapter to help us put on our events, our meetings on a monthly basis. And I'm always looking for vendor support and sponsorship for our chapter. So we have one more for this year for June that I'm looking to fill. And then I also have all of next year. So please, if you have a vendor that you work for or work with or work for that you're interested to sponsor our chapter, please get in touch with me. There's information on our website, or you can call me or email me as well. Tonight we have Sandler Training. We have Brett Dunbar from Sandler Training who's going to present, but I also want to just mention that we have the sponsor table in the back of the room with some information from Sandler Training. And there's going to be a raffle at the end of the night as well. So if you see the basket, we're going to have you pass it around at the end of the night so that we can put your business card in there and pull the raffle. So I'd like to hand this over to Brett Dunbar to do his sponsorship presentation. So thank you, Brett, for joining us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll walk up here. So I just want to thank Ross and Elena for asking me to do this. And Ross, you actually brought up a really good point about networking, about building trust. So I'm actually just going to skip my whole presentation. I'm going to flip it back onto you guys to give you a nugget that you can use from now on. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to stand up in your group. You're going to have a conversation with your table, but you can't use these three words: I, me, or we. If you do, you sit down. That table keeps having that conversation. If it comes to one or two, find another group, and we'll go from there. So remember, you can't use I, you can't use me, and you can't use we, but you have to have the conversation. So stand up, start the conversation out. The minute you say those three words, I, me, and we, you have to sit down. So I'll give you a few minutes. I'll tell you why at the end. Sit down. If you say I, me, or we, you sit down.
First one down.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. I, me, or we? Yeah. Awesome. All right, so the people standing, just stay standing if you're still standing. If you're still standing, stay standing. I want to ask you guys a question. What was your strategy? Asking questions. Listening. Torturing the language. Right? Telling stories. So you guys can sit. Thank you. So it's all about building trust, right? So we had listening. We had telling stories. We had taking the focus off of us and putting it on the prospect. Right? So I got probably about a minute, so let me give this little nugget. If your salespeople think it's all about talking and not about listening, they're working too hard. If your management is all about managing and not about leading and farming a team of talent, who's going to take over for them? If your customer service reps or your frontline people are trying to do cross-selling with your current clients and missing the boat, let's have a conversation. We'll go from there. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was pretty cool, Brett, actually. That was pretty slick. Yeah, I like that. Hello, everyone. My name is Cissy McKee, and I'm one of 2 program directors here at the chapter, and Debbie stepped out for a minute. And we are very pleased to bring this topic to you tonight. So wanted to kind of mention to you that mobile learning, as we all know, is kind of one of the most significant innovations, that's my word, to come our way for a while. And as trends towards social media, younger demographics in our learners, all of these things are things that make us have to gravitate toward what's already happening around us. We need to serve our learners where they already are and in the way that they already want to be served, and that is how they're already doing it right there on their phone, on their apps, day in, day out, all hours of the night. It's always there for them. And so it caused us to stop and think about how we might bring this information to the chapter. And I was fortunate enough to meet Megan Young, who's here from Kineo. Now, Megan's day job is, and I want to make sure I get it right here, so I'm going to read it to you. She helps clients deploy their enterprise e-learning solutions, both e-learning content and through LMS, within the technology, financial, healthcare, and government markets. She's come down tonight from Boston to be here with us, and I think that says a lot about her commitment to this. She brings 17 years of experience in blended learning production, system design, and consulting as part of an organizational learning strategic solutions. Since 1999, she's concentrated on e-learning and blended solutions for several Fortune 1000 clients. So I think she's probably got a little bit of expertise in this space, I would say. And to add to that, she's also primarily an educator at this point. So prior to joining Kineo, Megan held several senior positions in learning and development with Genesis Advisors, which you probably know from First 90 Days, and Harvard Business Publishing and Saba. Megan recently earned her MA in Adult Development and Psychology from the Harvard Graduate School of Education and has a BS in Education from Miami University. Please join me with a warm welcome for Megan.
I'm really good with education. I'm really bad with technology, so this is going to be... On? Is it? I think so. Am I on? Can you all hear me? No? Let's push it. See. Okay. We'll try one more time. Great. Is that? Oh, good. Good. Thank you very much. And first of all, we had some technology challenges this afternoon or this evening, and I wanted to thank this crew of people. I don't know if you saw this. They all joined in to help me figure it out. And we're actually doing a Join Me meeting because my new Dell does not have the right connector for the screen. So I learned a lesson. But anyway, thank you very much for having me. And I actually thought that maybe the reason the technology was acting up was because none of our Boston teams are going forward in the NCAA, and that we have some kind of jealousy about Connecticut or something. I don't know. Just a thought. I wanted to mention quickly, before I get into the presentation, I've got a couple things. We're going to be talking about ADAPT. And ADAPT is an open source development tool similar to Storyline and Articulate, and it uses HTML5, right? So it's similar to web-based design, except it's e-learning design. In January, Kineo opened up ADAPT as an open source product. So you'll see here, you have an opportunity to get your feet wet, jump in to the community. And that's what I'm actually going to be talking about today, primarily is showing you some examples of what web e-learning design is and kind of what people are doing with it and how it can make a difference to your learner. So that's this part. The other is next week we're going to be in New York. I don't know if you all get to New York at all, but at the Scandinavian House. Good. I love that. That's one of my favorite cities. We are having a morning session on compliance. And actually, we have some great folks. I don't know, have any of you heard of Cami Bean at all? She's probably a very highly followed ASTD, e-learning guild thought leader. and she is part of Kineo, and she'll be talking as well as J.C. Kinnaman, who I used to work with at SAI Global, and he'll be talking about the reluctant learner and how you can bring in that learner that really doesn't, we can all relate to this, have to take the compliance training, how you can draw people in to training. So that's going to, and then we also have 2 folks from the UBS group that are going to lead like an interactive discussion. So it's a lovely place. If you haven't been to the Scandinavian House, please come. We would love to have you to join us. And we try to do that on a quarterly basis. And the other thing, we will be going to ASTD, and I hope some of you all will be going. If you're interested in joining us for dinner, we'd love to have you. We have 2 different dinners going on, and we'd love to have you join us in the community. So those were all those in front of you. But what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, if I'm going to sit so you can see what's going on, and I'll start the slideshow. And I think one of the things that I would invite you to do, and you know how sometimes you see people on their phones or on their iPads or something while you're talking, and you think, oh, I must really be boring or something like that. Today, I invite you to jump in and get on your phone or your iPad or whatever as I'm talking and check out these things that I'm talking about, or afterwards, please go online. Also, as Cissy mentioned, I got a degree just recently in adult psychology and development, and one of the things that we really focused on was, I don't know if do you all know Csikszentmihalyi, about flow, like the whole idea of, I had an entire semester devoted to how you get in the flow of things. And one of the things that I really wanted you to kind of think about as we're talking through this is how you're going to have things flow with the learner and kind of come, as Cissy was saying, come to where they are and how their lives are. That we're doing everything on our phones now, getting information all over. So are our users. So e-learning really has to come to that learner. So I was thinking a lot as we're talking about this. Really look at the flow that can go on and how design can really influence how that learner kind of experiences things, embraces what you're learning, and really, what you really want to do is also make sure that it has a lasting impact, that once somebody learns something, that they realize what it is that they really want, what they need to do with it, and that they can remember it, be it a story, be it I know this person, I remember that story where that guy bribed somebody, right? So that's not something I want to do. Or a Christmas time, somebody gave you a gift over $100 and there was a story about it and you remembered it and thought, I don't think this is a good idea. Those are the kind of things that really e-learning can make a difference and really embrace. So I wanted to just kind of talk about the multi-device world. As we were talking about, we live in a multi-device world. The world, and in fact, it's saying that desktops are going to decline in use, where mobile devices, your laptops, your phones, are going to increase in use as far as how people are getting information. And I know, do any of you have like a BYOD, bring your own device, in your companies, right? So people are bringing their own devices into the office. And so when you've got that going on, again, you've got this multi-device world. It's not just your desktop in your corporation, it's other people's information. So with this growing acceptance, we really want to make sure that you can access services on the go. Just talking again about responsive e-learning, it was taken from responsive web design. Have any of you heard of responsive web design? Now this is where I'm going to be challenged with technology, and I hope you guys will bear with me as I get out of here and want to show you what I've kind of learned. Like, so if we went into the New York Times website, right? If you click on right up here at the top, the little square where it says Restore Down, you'll see that this is really what people would see on their phone or their laptop. So you can see you're not really seeing everything. So the New York Times actually has to publish a couple times. They have to publish for the desktop, they have to publish for the phone, they have to publish for an iPad. Where I found online, actually one of the people that we're talking to right now the World Wildlife Fund, right? Beautiful. You can kind of tell that it's an HTML5 just because of the scrolling that you get, up and down scrolling or right and left scrolling. And look at what happens when I do a restore. The page itself adjusts to the phone or the device. Okay, so that really is what responsive web design became. So again, what they're doing is they're publishing at one time, and then it goes across any of the devices. So that's really what we're talking about when we're looking at responsive e-learning, is just using that same concept and applying it to e-learning. So let me go back into the PowerPoint. Okay. So with responsive e-learning, it's built in, and this is, I was going to say I work with designers and developers all the time. I am not a designer or developer, and I don't play one on TV, but I definitely know. I've heard the words HTML. I'm sure you guys have heard HTML, Java, that kind of thing. So these are things that we've heard, and sometimes it's like, French. Like, I love the word enchanté, but that's where I stop in the conversation with people. I'm really at that same point with HTML. I understand it. I know that it's what people use. So what responsive e-learning is using HTML5. So the highest level HTML that's being produced right now is 5. So adapt in action looks so very, very similar. I'm going to get out of here and show you. It looks very similar to what we just saw on the websites. Okay. Actually, Kenio just had its 100th month celebration. So they've been around since 2005. And what the design team did is they thought for fun they would develop an adapt timeline using HTML5. And I just wanted to show you kind of the difference. So this is when I'm on the desktop, and it has along the right-hand side things like in 2005, how it started. And if you'll see the little American flag in 2009, that's when we actually had the U.S. office started. And then you saw, and I forget what these are called. What are the little cranes? The cranes are, I forget, origami. Thank you. So the origami that they have on the Adapt Learning site, they've put on here. And so I just wanted to, and in fact, it's really it's very fluid. It moves up and down. But again, when you move over to your phone, those origami things go away, and they're actually just timelines, right? So that's one of the things that is really unique about with working with e-learning web design, is that you can decide what you want, what information you want in each different device, all in one place. So if you all don't mind, I was going to show you one that I think really shows this off really well. There's one of our customers is Coats. Have you ever heard of Coats? If you haven't heard of Coats, you probably are wearing Coats. Coats makes thread, and they probably somewhere in your clothing are Coats thread, right? So one of the things that they realize is they're growing, they're global, like a lot of corporations, and they hadn't had basic management learning for across the board global training. So they wanted to bring it online. They started out using Storyline with us. We developed it for them, and it went really well, but they were saying, but we have this mobile group of people. We want them to, do this maybe after hours. But also have it at work. So we created this mentoring as like a pilot for them. And one of the things that I just wanted to point out here, if we were going into, let me get out of here, in the theory and understanding your values, right? So we've got a story about Carl and Neil, and one of the things that they did on the desktop is, if you see these like little threads, these little knots of threads, if you click on the knot, it actually gives you some information and definitions. So if you think about it at work, it's not as, it's one of those things where you want to keep people involved and clicking and that kind of thing. So on the desktop, they've created these threads, but when we go over to your phone, those threads have gone away, because again, you probably couldn't see them or get over to them, but they are available. They're available on your desktop and not on your phone. So you can decide what you want to do with each one of those in different mediums. All right. Does anybody have any questions, or does it make sense to you? All this is making sense? Yes, please. No, it is not. That's a great question. And you can. And in fact, that's a very good point. You can change fonts. And if you think about it, and I think my eyes appreciate having a little bit bigger font when I'm on the phone than maybe on the desktop. But you can change those things. Every single one of the objects can be changed for each one of the devices. So that's a perfect question. Absolutely.
One of the issues has to do with you limit yourself too much to fonts. Sometimes if you have to be on more than one device,
exactly.
It would be advantageous if translating to another device, pick the font that is available.
Exactly. So you can do that, and that was a perfect question. Thank you. I'm going to go back and go into. So just so that we saw it in action, but some things that I wanted to mention is that we started out owning, like we created Adapt, and had it was something that we did on our own. It right now is very, you have to know Java, you have to know HTML, and we realized that that's not something that everybody can use, a product or something, a tool that everyone can use. So one of the things that we thought, we already had been, and Kenio actually means to shake things up, and we are big on sharing. So when we actually were one of the founding members of Totra LMS and open source LMS, and we were used to that way of doing work and working with customers so that you have more freedom. So just because it's kind of in our DNA to share, we decided to take Adapt out to open source, let people use it, and also influence the look and design of the user interface. So we knew we were going to create a user interface that would be accessible to any of us. Like I could create something, but right now it's not that way, but we wanted to put it out to the community. So we had done we worked with probably 15 or 20 clients prior to putting it out in open source, so we had a really good understanding of how it worked, that it did work, that it was fitting the bill. But we know that through open source, you really can get more people focused on making something better. And it also future-proofs things too, because when we go to HTML6, you want a community of people going, okay, what are we going to do with HTML6? How does that affect this? What do we need to do to get someplace else? Plus, the fact of the matter is, if we put a development tool out into the public and people can use it, they're gonna make it better. They're gonna use it. They're gonna put it out there, and it's gonna get more traction. What we're finding as well is that in corporations today, people will say, "I can do my standard courses. I can do on my own." But for maybe one of the courses that is one of those, maybe it's an annual compliance review, or it is an onboarding. You want it to look a certain way, and it actually it's going to be like a 3 or 4 hour program. It's not something you have resources in internally. We actually can work with you on it. But we know you know how to use the product. So I think that's why Adapt for us becoming open source just made sense for making sure it's being used, making sure it's going forward. So that's kind of why it's out there as it is. And I went the wrong way, sorry. But this kind of goes back to the question about fonts too. Just because you can do all of these things, we have like a little restraining kind of here. Like just because you can doesn't mean that you should, right? So, like when you think about a course and that there are multiple devices, don't just make sure that the course, how it's going to fit in a mobile world versus a desktop world. So maybe if you're doing an annual compliance, that's something you want done on the desktop, but you can take pieces out of that annual compliance, tips and tools, worksheets, those kind of things, they can go right to the phone. So that you can actually, so that annual compliance that went on, you can take those bits that you want people to remember and put them in the right place for people. So again, it's just more about thinking about things. And when I was talking with my designers inside, they were like, please tell them, don't go crazy with it. Less is more. Make it clean. Always think about the learner. So I thought that was really, and they were very, protective of that. But I think all of you in the room understand why. You don't want to, it reminded me of PowerPoint when we first came out with PowerPoint, how we used all these different fonts. We put all these things in. Oh, look, it can do this and this. And then it was just like, yeah, but did it make the right point, right? Did it really address the need? So this was just kind of a little caution that I thought was really good to put out there when you're thinking about Adapt. And scrolling, the whole idea of scrolling. So we live in a linear, like I'm doing right now. We live in a linear PowerPoint world. It's just this picture, nothing else. It doesn't scroll up and down. But the world of your learners is all about scrolling, is all about going up and down, is all about moving all around. So realize that you've got to, when you learn this, have this new design, that you really want to embrace scrolling because that's what's happening out there. And the whole idea of like everything above the fold, that goes away too. There are things beyond what you can see. So realize that those things are changing out there and create your design for that. And really what that means is what we call wireframing. You really want to create a layout that you are, and really to me it's like a page design. And again, the designers are saying it doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be you putting yellow stickies on a wall and saying, how do we need to see information? What's really important here? Do we need to do tips here? Do we need a test? And just laying that out and deciding how the page is actually going to roll or flow out there. And realizing, too, that a page could maybe be a 10-minute module. But a page is long, because it has like little components as a part of it. So again, it's one of those things where when you create that idea, one of the biggest things after that is just go out there and share it. So, and you all know, it's really one of those, I think we were talking about before, the whole idea of like Addie versus Sam. Go out there and learn something new. Go and put it out to people. What do you think of that? Is that going to work? Grab your 20 and 30-somethings and see what if they are liking it, if it's hitting, if they think it's good, interesting, or if it needs more. Because you really have the power to bring any kind of object into this learning and really create a very nice look and feel that will be appealing to the people that are used to being on the web. And then, again, I think that this one was more about the whole idea of content. This slide originally said content is king, and I changed that. You want to, because I think really the person that's really the king is your learner, right? And what they're trying to do. And that the content, you really want to look at the overall user experience that's going on. You want to make sure it's engaging the learner. And that it really, like, does it need to be there? Or are you just putting something in because you want it? You think, oh, that's really cool. Stop yourself and think, is this really needed, right? So that's what a lot of the work that we do when we're working with our customers is really kind of, there's this tendency to say, we have to get that out, right? This is really, really important. And then it's like, but are there other ways that you can get it out, or are there other, like, could it be a PDF that you can access versus something you feel has to go into the course? So again, just making sure that your content plays well. Right now, I was going to say, I think that I was going to take you to the Adapt site, but is there any questions at this point? Can I answer anything else? Yes?
How does that work with the responsive design work with interactivity in the module? So like if you have a knowledge check built in, certain buttons or mappings, does that translate well
Yes.
onto a mobile device?
Yes, it does. It does, and I can show. Thank you. I can show you that. That's perfect. Over to.
Maybe later.
Let's see. That's great. And I was gonna. Okay, let me get out of here. Sorry. All right. So, and that's, I'm going to go back to well, actually, there's a couple things. I didn't show you this one yet. This is something we did. Firefox was launching its latest release, and it was going global. So one of the things that you can do in the very beginning is decide what country that you're in, and then based upon the country, the language would come up, right? So I'm going to go with the states and then start. But then, you know, your introduction, again, it has videos in here, and if we want to look at that, like, so the videos actually do appear. The tests are, you know, you have a variety of things, a variety of ways that this works. So it does, like one of the things with the COATS course that I was showing you is when you do take a test, I'll go to the testing area. The one thing that it does do is it records that information, records the tips and the test, and it can send it back off. And then it also will, in fact, when I try to leave here, sorry, that's not what I meant to do. But when it has me return to the home, it will ask me, there's some components you didn't finish. Are you sure you want to leave? So at that point, it's tracking. When I say yes, it doesn't track my questions. Until then, so I know that if I leave this, it's going to not track. But if I do finish, it will track that information and send it off to an LMS. You can get it sent off to an LMS. Is that kind of answer? Did I answer that well, or do you need more clarity on that?
I just wanted to see how it would deal with an interaction with a user.
Yes.
Device.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. So, and it does, and you do have to create for those things. And I was going to actually show you with the resources too. This was one of the things just where you can have PDFs, and again, the PDFs are accessible by the phone as well as on a desktop. And let me see. I think. Let's see. So. Yes.
Will it send information back and go into an LMS so it's tracked in the LMS?
Yes.
And that's validated?
Yes. I mean, they're really SCORM
Yeah.
objects,
Okay.
right? So those objects can be transferred to an LMS, right? So each one of those objects are. I did want to take you to our open source community and just invite you to. Let me see what it is. So and actually the ADAPT community is also done in HTML5 too, so it's available on your phone as well as on the desktop. But one of the things that you can do is immediately you can launch a demo, you can download the source code and start using it if you wanted to. One of the things in talking with the gentleman that runs ADAPT, Sven, he was saying, I mean, and you probably, I bet a lot of you know that from open source, there was a reluctance in corporations, probably, I don't know if it's still true, but I know about 5 to 10 years ago that when you worked in open source community, it was kind of like, well, who's gonna service, or what if we have a problem? What happens? That's one of the biggest concerns about an open source community. So there's a couple things. One is you can work with, vendors tend to kind of come around like service and that kind of thing. And for us with the ADAPT open source, what we're thinking is that it's really building, our biggest deal right now is building a strong community. And making, when people have problems, that they submit them and the community comes to the rescue or works with people on the problem. But right now what Sven is most concerned about is how many people are on the site, who's involved. There are different levels of involvement that you can get into. There are maybe 5 companies that have already said, I'm going to give a resource to this community to help build the community. It's one of those things that is really taking off well. He's monitoring it every day. He's like, we need more people in the U.S. And I said, I'm going to Connecticut, So I was like, we'll get them going. If you see a big, surge from Connecticut, we'll get them on there. So, yes.
So I guess I was had a look at, I guess it was either the ADAPT or the CAM site last night. Maybe it was exactly where you are now. And I saw that there's a source code file. So someone basically would have to have enough knowledge to take that source code file, compile it, and create the executable. And then go. Because I was thinking there was some sort of download executable type
No.
thing. So I just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yeah, and I know that there's like, I know that they have in here like exactly how you download and what you're going to get and kind of talk you through it. But there's the demo, as well as like there's how-tos in here, and there's people can tell you how you can get involved, and they can tell you how you start. So the community, it's very much a community of people that you could try it, and you'll get people that can help you. But yes, you do have to, in a way, know what you're doing right now. The anticipation, though, of having a product that is not Java, HTML, programming, and more a better user interface is within the year. So as you watch this site, I mean, at least get in, get your toes wet, try it, see it, and then as you check in, there's gonna be something probably within the year that will be a much more a stronger user interface, something that all of us would go, oh, we could do this, we could try it, right? So please just like stay attuned to it and try it and read and play with it, because I think there's a couple of demos in here as well as ways that you can get started. Absolutely.
My question was, when you're designing for these different venues, do you have to go to your phone to see what it's going to look like on the phone?
No. In fact, you just would do what I did. That's going to tell you. So the system automatically, it adjusts. So web design, from what I understand, it will always recognize whatever device you're using and adjust accordingly. So you're just designing once, and then the HTML, Java, and content, CSS, is it content scripting? It automatically adjusts to the device.
Well, I guess, so I got that
Yes.
part. But you said that when you're designing it and you're thinking you're learner-centric,
Yes.
and that you want to design it, if you have a smaller area, you want the font to be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were thinking that through,
Oh, I see your point. Yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I do. So you're right. So that wireframing, when you're doing that, that's when you're actually coming up with, on the phone, I want it to be at a bigger type. And so but it's really not in the coding, it's more in the framing the page out and deciding how you want the different elements to show in the different devices.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, Cissy.
And so I think we've talked about this. So open sourcing at this point, to use this, is a no cost, no payment to get in kind of thing. We can go
Right.
and try it out and things. Is there cost to publish? Not at this point.
No.
So we really can go in and have
Create.
fun and not.
Absolutely, for free, right? Absolutely, and we invite you to do that, and that's really what open source. So, for instance, Totra LMS is also open source. You could go and have your own LMS, but a lot of times people that do that want a front page that has a nice look and feel and branding, and they don't know how to do that, so they will hire people to do that part for them. It would be the same exact thing. Exact thing. Anything else? I hope that it was interesting and that you will go play. And I really thank you very much for allowing me to come in tonight and speak with you guys. And go Connecticut. Go Huskies.
Megan, thank you very much. That was fabulous. And it's really about how we as trainers and human resource people think about the technology that's emerging, because this is emerging technology. This is new. And how do we capture that, deploy it to drive learning in our organizations? So that's part of why we brought Kineo in tonight, because you don't want to learn about what was great for 1974. You need to know what's going to be good for the next couple of days at least. So a couple of things just to do some wrap-up. a special shout out to our sponsor for this evening. Thank you very much. Megan, thank you again. And we've got a couple of things that we need to do. Before I do those, thank you to our audience who have clicked on that link and looked at what was going on tonight. Feedback I got from the last time we did this is, Ross, you did a good introduction, but then you kind of forgot about us. We did not forget about you. And don't forget about us. If you like tonight, send in an email, because we're in the experimental stage. There's no cost to this. It's all about fulfilling our mission to become a center of excellence in learning for Fairfield County, northern Westchester, and most of Connecticut. So, thank you. Now, Dorota has a basket. Are there two baskets or one basket? Elena's got the other basket. Since Elena does sponsorship, you know that Elena has to do with Brad. And so for Sandler training, if you are interested in their...
They are raffling off a book and a lunch as a discussion session, a discovery session rather, to see how they can help.
Okay, so that's where that card goes. If you're looking at Dorota, we also have a raffle for a free meeting. So if you liked this one, and the food was great too, drop a card in, and you'll be able to come for a free meeting in the future, a meeting of your choice. So those are those two things. Next month is a really special month. Now, next month we have a diversity panel. Now, I've got a special place in my heart for diversity, because in 1987, I read the Bureau of United States Department of Labor report that said of the entering workforce, only 15% of them looked like me. So, as I look around this room, it's not so unrepresentative. So diversity is an important part of our work and our future and our place in the world. So Cissy and Deb have put together just a fabulous, fabulous panel. So that's coming up for next week. So, next month. I'm sorry. My board manages me very closely. I'm glad you laughed. Okay, so are we ready? Free meeting. Everybody got your free meeting card in? All right. I won't look. Okay, now I will. This is John Hart. Great. Free meeting.
Thank you.
There you go. Elena? Oh, okay. We're not quite ready yet. Got it. You want one of my cards? You can write on the back. This is always the most, suspenseful, wonderful part. See, my board is helping take care of me. On the evaluations, and I'll ask you to fill out the evaluations, there's what topics, programs would you like to have ASTD offer in the future? So this is all around crowdsourcing, and you are our crowd. And June, there is... They take wonderful care of me because, I am smarter than I sound. ASTD's got talent. So ASTD has got talent. We did it last year for the first time. It was one of the most exciting sessions we ran. Basically, it's like ASTD's version of American Idol. You have 3 or 4 people who are up, and they've got 15 to 20 minutes to put you through a training experience that is like nothing else in the world. No hidden message there. So, that's June. And if anyone is interested in showing off what they can really do and having a lot of fun doing it, you can do that, and there's a cash prize for the winner. Volunteer staff with that meeting.
We have one of our participants who was giving me a little, they were 12 minutes, a max of 12, and we will definitely be enforcing the rules a little. We enforced the rules last time, we're doing even more enforcement this next time. 12 minutes max. Each presenter is up there for 12 minutes.
And one was around being like an executive speaker, one was around storytelling, one was around a simulation, one was around consulting and how do you consult from the heart. They were fabulous. Each was fabulous. So, Allison Jones? Yes. I think that's you. You have our winner from Sandler Training.
Okay, thanks. Wow.
So, that wraps us up for this evening. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me as I was supported and coached by my board. And thank you to the audience that's unseen but is watching. Take care. See you all next month.